The animal kingdom is kind of like a gallery of living, breathing art, and it's all painted by evolution itself. Today, we're going to decode the secrets behind some of its most stunning masterpieces, the absolutely incredible variety of animal coats.
I mean, just think about the bold, graphic statement of a zebra's stripes.
Or the incredibly complex, beautiful rosettes of a jaguar. And even the almost map-like patches on a giraffe. These patterns, they aren't just pretty accidents. Nope. They are true masterpieces of evolution. And each one tells a really unique story about survival.
So, how in the world does this happen? How does nature, using basically the same genetic toolkit for everyone, create such a dazzling, mind-boggling variety of designs? Well, that's the big question we're tackling today. So here's the plan. We'll start off by exploring why these patterns are so important for survival. Then, we're going to take a little trip back in time to see how scientists first started cracking the color code and how the genomic revolution pretty much gave us the master key. After that, we'll use that key to unlock the secrets behind all black coats, and of course the classic spots and stripes, before we zoom out to appreciate evolution's living canvas.
Right, so these coats are definitely not just for show. Each pattern, every single color is a story of survival, and it's written in the language of genetics. They're these elegant solutions to life's biggest challenges, like hiding from predators, ambushing prey, attracting a mate, or sometimes even just staying warm.
And this quest to understand all this, it's not new, not at all. In fact, it's a story that's about as old as genetics itself.
Way before we could even dream of sequencing DNA, scientists were totally fascinated by animal coats. And why wouldn't they be? There are obvious differences. Black, white, spotted, striped were the perfect natural experiment for figuring out the fundamental rules of heredity.
It's actually amazing how central animal coats have been to a whole century of genetic breakthroughs. Back in the early 1900s, they helped confirm Mendel's laws in mammals. Then by 1915, they were used to prove that genes are physically linked together on chromosomes. And get this, in 1961, the patchy patterns on calico cats, calico cats, led to this huge discovery about how female mammals actually switch off one of their X chromosomes. For more than a century, these patterns have been our guide, our roadmap to the genome.
But for all that incredible progress, scientists were still really just looking at the surface. Then the genomic revolution happened, and it gave us the tools to go from just observing the final painting to actually reading the artist's source code.
Okay, think of it this way. Before, we could see that, say, a parent with a certain coat often had babies with a similar one. We were basically just reading the book's cover. But now, with all this rapid gene sequencing technology, we can read the entire book, every single letter, in just a matter of days. It's a total game changer.
This incredible power lets scientists find the exact genetic typos, the mutations, that change the instructions. It's kind of like finding the one letter in a recipe that changes chocolate to vanilla and completely alters the final cake.
And the results are just wow. We now know the specific gene, it's called SLC45A2, that gives us the white tiger. We've even identified genes that evolution has specifically tweaked to paint the tiger's iconic stripes. And maybe the wildest part? We know that a mutation in a single gene, MC1R, is often the switch that creates an all-black coat in animals as different as a massive, powerful jaguar and a teeny-tiny rock pocket mouse.
So let's put this into practice. Our first deep dive is on melanism. That's the scientific term for animals that are much darker than others of their species, and often they're completely black.
I'm sure you've seen this before. The most famous example, of course, is the black panther. But here's the thing. That's not a separate species. It's just a melanistic jaguar, or a leopard, an individual with a genetic variation that tells its body to produce an all-black coat.
So why go black? Well, it's really not a simple question. As this diagram shows, evolution is basically this constant tug-of-war between all these different environmental pressures.
Let's break it down. A black coat can be fantastic for camouflage or crypsis if you're a predator hunting in a dark, dense forest. But you can imagine it could also make you stick out like a sore thumb in an open savanna. It might help you warm up faster in a cold place, but cause you to overheat somewhere hot. And some research even suggests it can offer better defense against parasites, especially in human areas. So it's this constant trade-off, and the best coat depends entirely on where that animal lives, where it hunts, and how it survives.
Okay, so we've covered solid colors. Let's move on to something even more complex. How does an animal get its spots, its stripes, and all those other intricate patterns?
Take a close look at these two big cats. You've got a cheetah's spots and a tiger's stripes.
They might seem like just variations on a theme, right? But genetically speaking, they are written in two completely different languages.
The main takeaway here is this: the genetic recipe for making a spot is fundamentally different from the one for making a stripe. These patterns are literally painted onto the skin super early in development, and it requires this complex symphony of genes turning on and off at just the right time in just the right place to create either isolated dots or connected lines.
This is where this amazing tool called transcriptomics comes into play. So, if the genome is the entire cookbook, transcriptomics tells you which specific recipes are being used right now. It lets scientists see exactly which genes are switched on in the dark bits of fur versus the light bits. It's almost like catching the artist in the act, revealing precisely how that pattern is being painted onto the skin.
So, from the historical chase to the modern toolkit we have today, what's the big picture? What's the main takeaway? Well, we've learned that these beautiful coats are not the result of a single gene or just one single pressure. It's way more complicated than that. The researchers behind a lot of this science really put it perfectly. It's all about the complex interplay of forces. Things like genetics, the environment, climate, predators, communication. It all swirls together, constantly shaping and reshaping these incredible living designs.
It really makes you look at the natural world a little differently, doesn't it? Every single animal coat is a dynamic solution to this ongoing evolutionary puzzle. And it leaves us with one last, pretty fascinating question. With our world changing so quickly, what new masterpieces is evolution painting right now?